Well, Merry Christmas, ZMAM fans, and welcome back to the show. You know, it just wouldn't be right if we didn't end 2020 off with just another jacked up movie or some kind of disaster coming our way, which I know a lot of people have already talked about, but we're talking Wonder Woman 2020. This is WW84. And Adam, I went in, and the sad thing was the reviews were already kind of coming in like crazy. I even had a good buddy of mine. He texted me, he goes, dude, this movie is so bad. And I'm like, this guy's a big superhero fan. So I was like, this isn't going to go well. So Adam, we're going to tackle the top 7 reasons why Wonder Woman failed us.
Yeah, big fan of the first movie. Thought it was kind of DC's crown gem as far as the movie universe goes. And yeah, I'm with you on this one, man. Let's break it down.
So let's get into number 1. Let's just talk length of the movie. This is a 2.5-hour movie about just Wonder Woman alone. Now listen, we realize that a lot of these superhero movies, they get into some depth sometimes, right? And we got to get a lot of material in there. But let's face it, Adam, the first hour of this movie was just kind of like some kind of romantic or non-romantic drama / awkward geekiness from Kristen Wiig. I mean, and Kristen Wiig, the same character we get all the time. I mean, do we really need to spend an hour worth of screen time with her to really understand that, okay, you're extremely awkward, nobody likes you, you want to be popular, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and, it's funny because I agree with you in that Cheetah probably did have a little too much screen time. Like her developing into that villain was too far played out. They didn't need to go as far with it as he did. But the sad thing about it is, in spite of that being played out, that was actually one of my favorite parts of the first half of the movie. So you're right. It was too much, but it was better than anything going on around it.
Yeah, it's like for a little while, you're kind of like, okay, I'm kind of learning what's about it. And then at one point, I'm just kind of, Jesus Christ, can we just get on past it? I get it, I get it. Let's get on. And the whole thing of the movie starting off with this artifact, some guy was calling it, I was telling you that it was kind of the dildo artifact because it's got this kind of wannabe shaft coming off of it. But I mean, seriously, it's goofy kind of looking anyways, but it's got some Latin writing on it, and it basically allows you to make wishes. It's just it's a lamp. It's a genie in the lamp pretty much, except you get 1 wish instead of 3.
Somehow, we'll get into it later, Max Lord ends up abusing the crap out of that 1 wish, and that leads to all kinds of hodgepodge of things. But Diana, Wonder Woman, doesn't realize it, right? And she makes a wish, and some weird things happen.
Yeah, and she didn't even do it. She didn't even say it verbally, which is interesting because everybody, other person, it seemed, you had to actually say it. You had to hold on to him and you had to say it, at least at that point in time. She kind of said in her mind and it just happened to come true. But either way, talking to that first reason, again, length. It was way too long. I mean, this thing could absolutely be edited down. I bet you there's 30 minutes easy could have been cut off this film and it would have saved us. At least saved us some pain of watching some of this go down.
I bet you could cut out a lot of fat in this film, knock it down to an hour and a half or 2.5 hours, and it'd be a much
Could
better
you imagine
movie.
cutting off, seriously, an hour and a half of material?
Oh, I can imagine, sure.
That's just insane. An hour and a half of material of scenes. You know how much time it takes to get an hour and a half of good, solid scenes?
That first hour was a hot mess, man. You could get rid of most of that. And then there are just over-the-top scenes in the second half that you could cut out.
All right.
Good.
So let's get into number 2, because we're just right there, okay? Wasted time and this attention on Steve Trevor's character. I mean, he comes back, which, mind you, I like Steve Trevor's character in the first movie. He was cool. It's kind of like they both had their own objectives and things that they were trying to achieve, and then kind of falling in love, which was very odd for Diana because, that wasn't what she was about. It's Wonder Woman. She doesn't need a dude, and I'm fine with that because that's her style. That's her character, right?
Right. No, totally with you as well. And I think, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think what really bothered us about Steve is that it really, in terms of Steve's character, it really didn't do anything. And in terms of Diana's character, the only thing Steve really represented in this movie to me was her inability to move on from a big loss in the first movie. And unfortunately, that's all he ever ended up representing. And so the only way for her to move on is for him eventually to go away again, which It's okay, but
And
it
I
felt
felt
stale.
bad, and I will say that I think Gal Gadot's acting increased a bit, at least in that scene. I mean, she looked terribly upset about it, and to have to lose somebody all over again, I get it, and I think it was a lazy writing choice, but it's like, but I feel
Yeah,
like he was just kind of like this little sidekick, because I mean, how
right.
much can he really do? It's Wonder Woman. I mean, luckily he saved her ass a couple different times throughout, wedging the vehicle in between before she got super smashed, and we'll get into her powers in a minute here because that's another part of the fails. But yeah, I just kind of felt this is kind of wasted on it. In fact, and also the idea that like he came back into this new body or whatever, and like he's seen things for the first time, but I kind of feel that some of the things they chose for him to see for the first time were kind of lame. You know, I mean, you
Yeah,
waited
like
40 years for
it,
this, and this is what you chose? Fireworks? You man never seen a firework in
and
between? China's been using them since like 1000 BC, probably or something. I don't know.
yeah, and I didn't think, like, to me it made sense, like, that he would get excited about
That's
escalators
fine.
and spaceships and things like
Sure.
that. But I'm like, why are we investing this time and energy into a character who's just going to have to die so Diana can
Yeah.
grow?
Well, and so we got to see growth. And by the way, if they don't build him up and give us some like, so even those scenes which are fairly cringeworthy, like of him dressing in all the '80s clothes, which was kind of fun just because you get to see some of those '80s clothes. But that's about it. And then you're just kind of like, okay, let's just get on with this because I know that half the viewers they were just like, Jesus, this is awful. To me, I was just kind of like, okay, I get it. It's kind of like Pretty Woman, except it's a dude, dressing him
Yeah.
up, and then by the time, if you wouldn't have built him up, then when he finally did have to say, let me go and whatever, then that wouldn't have mattered, right? If you don't give us some kind of caring for him, then we're not going to care whatsoever. And I did a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say I was shedding a tear, but I was just like, sacrifices especially that heroes have to make, that really sucks. But, you're the one that kind of opened the gate, Diana. You're the one that wished for him back, you know. Uh,
Yeah, the whole thing's really weird. I felt like, and you mentioned this earlier, the sacrifice at the end of the first movie was really cool. It was a big growth moment for
Unexpected, yeah.
Steve. It was unexpected. It was a big moment of loss for Diana. And this just felt
Yeah, bland.
bland. It just
Forced.
felt like he comes back, he rides an escalator, he tries on some clothes, he flies a plane, and then he dies again.
Cool.
Cool?
Cool. Hey, stuff. we
Yeah,
got we got stuff in this movie. Let's hit number
right.
three, and this kind of just ties into it all, anyways. Kind of, I call it the half-baked story, along with the inconsistencies along the way, and there are tons of them. Really, I think if you were to truly just kind of point them all out, which my job when I watch film, I don't want to have to sit there and be like, that's wrong and that's inconsistent. I should just be able to sit down, Adam. You should be able to sit down, watch this movie, suspend disbelief just enough, and get through it and enjoy it. But instead, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of like, but wait a minute, what about this
Yeah.
and that? And when we tie into that, I don't understand. One of the big things I didn't understand is why did Cheetah Barbara, okay, Kristen Wiig's character, why did she get two wishes? Now, if they want to argue and say that, well, when Max decided to become the dildo unit or whatever artifact,
The
the
wish
the wish
giver.
giver, you know that he could control how many he gives to each, but that doesn't hold true because he didn't do it with anybody else, but with her, what? And again, it could be argued, well, because he saw great potential in her and being his protector. Maybe he's like, hey, you know what? You go ahead and keep on wishing as much as you want to wish, and I'm gonna just light you up with this, with a full package. And I'm like, that's totally going against what you were even trying to show in this movie.
To me, it's not that any one part of the wish thing is unbelievable. It's that they introduce so many weird offshoots, like her technically getting two wishes. It going from, the device,
The device to him, to the
yeah, the
the
device to him. And
particle
it's like,
rain, or what?
okay, where it's like where and it just like it to me it's like it's almost like a lesser version of what we talked about in our previous Dune review, where it's like, why do you need to do all
Yes.
this? Just you don't need to make that like I just just keep it simple. And so, like, I don't know that the two wishes alone, but when you combine it with all the weird stuff that's going on, it's like,
There's somebody
why?
that actually made a reference, which I think was perfect for this. Like they kind of pulled a Superman 3/4 on this movie because they just started just doing just it's like literally like, hey, you can think it, get it on the paper, and it may have looked good on the paper, but when they finally said, okay, now we got to actually make this happen on screen, they're like, oh, wait, we ain't doing that now, are we? Another big inconsistency when he rolls in on the president's office and he's like, Mr. President, I want to, get all your respect and power. Which, by the way, do really that many people respect our president? I'd argue that one, but whatever. He wants to get all that good stuff, and mind you, just seconds after, in a big ass room, he's got all these top secret photos of this that just happen to be there. Oh, well, that's the particle beam array, and that'll, do this. And I'm just kind of like, well, ain't that just hella convenient for this time,
I'm almost finding myself saying, is this too far-fetched? Because that just happened. And that was pretty far-fetched. So I agree with you that it's a little weird, but I don't know that it's any weirder than anything else going on.
It's just a continued story. It's and even though I'm bringing
Right.
up these single events, these are just pieces. I'm just trying to give the audience a grounding on just what we experienced throughout this thing. These were just little things, and as each one just added up one after another, and we both even saw it as we got into the back half of the movie. It finally actually started getting kind of interesting again, because you probably could have cut out an easy 35, 45 minutes minimum, or whatever, to get it to where it needs to be. And so it was kind of like, oh, now we're actually getting into action, and oh, now Diana's actually using her powers. Cool. The White House battle, pretty cool. The battle on the road, with all the tank vehicles and stuff. Although a little convenient, just having to drive by the guy you happen to be looking for. But hey, okay, it happened. Let's go with it, and we get a pretty cool, battle ensuing there. But then we get back to that Diana's powers as they're fading in and out. So again, consistency. So is it because that she is a goddess that it takes longer to drain a goddess's, whatever the Wishmaster thing wanted from it? It takes longer for a goddess versus a normal human being versus a bodybuilder versus, I mean, what is that? Everybody else's, they lost immediately. And of course we understand why. Because if they would have drained her powers completely, she'd be completely useless. She'd be a human, It'd just be human Diana and human Steve, trying to work this stuff out. Which, I mean, you can go watch Die Hard if you want to see that kind of action, So they can't do that. She has to still have her powers, but they literally come in and out. It's like, oh, I'm strong again, and oh, now I'm wounded. The bullets are starting to penetrate my skin, and oh, now I can swing my. But I'm just like, well, what is it? You have your powers or you don't have your powers? Inconsistencies. Just saying, it's no bueno, no bueno.
No, and if you're gonna make a movie longer than an hour and a half, in my opinion, every minute should count. And if you have minutes that don't count and you're over that hour and a half, you need to start cutting.
Okay, I will not argue with that. Absolutely not. Absolutely. And so let's get to number 4 now. And I know you weren't as strong on this one, but I think you kind of see where I'm coming from, at least which is I renounce my wish. The wishes are renounced.
Yeah.
And here's the biggest thing, guys. So I was thinking about this. So it would have been one thing if all we needed was just the bad people, the ones who made those really crappy wishes, the nukes, and I wish you dropped dead. I'm just like, man, yeah, because there's people like that, right? They're harsh, they're to the bone. But it's not. You see, she was telling everybody has to renounce it because I think it was all intertwined, like this big ass interwoven puzzle or whatever, and it all led to Max. Because in my eyes, I was like, well, why didn't it just leave it at Max? Like somehow you have to like disable him or convince his ass to make that wish so that it all starts back to like, day one, where before anything kind of crazy happened. I felt there'd be a lot less loopholes and it would just make a lot more sense. The fact that you would have every person, whether they be good or bad, I wish my mother didn't have cancer. Wishes granted, except I want, I want you all your diamond necklaces or whatever like that. It's a stupid thing, but you know what I'm saying? That's pretty what she was getting from everybody. Just little things here and there. Some more than others, like the president's power, his respect, Diana's powers. What exactly was stopping Diana from reaching him? I mean, okay, if it was like it's literally just all this power and the wishing, but again, these are all things that, and if you don't want to have to explain it in your movie, well, that's fine. But you can't just do stuff at all different times and literally have no reasoning behind it. I mean, that's pretty much what Dune was doing to us, and and amongst many other films. It's like, this does not make sense. I mean, when we
Yeah,
talked about Tenet a few weeks back or whatever, Tenet, although extremely confusing, at least they had kind of some background around enough of the stuff just to give you enough little inklings where you're like, maybe I don't have this fully in my brain, but it somehow kind of half-ass makes sense. You know what I mean?
right. No, and I think unfortunately, we talked about this a little bit, but that Max Lord in this movie is a hot mess. I described him earlier to you.
We get
He's
talking. Go
basically
ahead.
like you take a kid, you put him in a candy shop, and you call up to that kid and say, whatever you can grab is free. And that's Max Lord with these
Yeah.
powers. And so like he's just like, I want this, I want that, I'm gonna grab your hands and you're gonna do this for me. So I think by the time we get to the point where everybody has to renounce their wishes, I'm probably so tired from watching this little kid run around and do all these
Yeah.
random things that it doesn't phase me at all. And maybe it should,
Well, he wasn't
but
he
it
wasn't
doesn't.
strong. I mean, it's not like he was really formidable. I mean, I think he has a small fight scene with Steve, which is just guy versus guy. I mean, it wasn't not much more than that. Maybe Steve has a little bit more background training because he had military and so forth. But yeah, he's just like this super energized crack cocaine bunny, which the crack cocaine is the wish power, and he can't help himself. He's just and we see this kind of from the beginning, even when he meets Kristen Wiig and he's trying to woo her a bit, and you can see all he wants is this artifact item. Which the fact that this kind of Ponzi scheming, which I don't think he always was like that. I think he literally, I feel his is kind of a tragic story, to be honest. I think he's just this guy who wanted to be somebody, and then he had a
Yeah.
boy and he wanted to show him, I can be somebody, you can be somebody one day, and you don't have to come from a rich family. You could see that his family was, I guess, abusive and he was poor. Again, I feel bad for you, but you didn't show enough of it for me to really care that much because you pretty much started becoming a complete douche and ass bag like from the start. And I'm sorry, I don't care for your character. I don't want to see a reversal. We're not going to pull a Metal Gear Solid here. I don't care that you used to be a good person and then you turn into a sniper and you've murdered like 3,000 people. I don't care about you. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, he's that's
He's
just
a
a
hot
hot
mess.
mess, in
And
my
Pedro
opinion.
Pascal, he's a formidable actor. He's had some bombs here and there. I think he was in like The Great Wall and a couple others. But he's doing really great on The Mandalorian. But so not everything was meant to be. And I think he honestly did as much as he probably could with this character. I was
I'll give you
feeling
that.
vibes, and I told you this, right or wrong, but I kind of felt like he was just like this hyper energized villain, kind of like the Riddler back with Jim Carrey days. Now, Jim Carrey is his own hot mess specialness, but I was feeling it. I was like, God, these guys are so goddamn hyper. Chill out a little bit, and get your thoughts together, what you're even trying to achieve. Because I think even at times, I think he was just kind of going off the cusp, kind of like, I'll do this, I'll do that. Like you said, candy
Yeah.
store time. So, ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay, so and this is, I should have had this one towards the top a little bit. So, under number five, when I say intro, I don't really mean the Amazonian whatever games or whatever, when we see Diana learning her lesson or whatever, which that was okay, whatever. That could have been
All
entered
right.
anywhere in the movie. It didn't have to be the intro. But I guess I see why they did. But what I'm cringing about are those robbers, Adam. Those robbers that went into that mall to not rob a jewelry store, but to rob the jewelry store that actually seems to have a black market of items in the back anyway. So wait a minute. You guys are bad because you have a black market, and then these robbers know that you're bad but don't really care. They just want your items. And I think we actually see the item in there. And if that was their tie-in, I'm just like, you want to get a little lazier with your writing? Do you want to? Do you really want to?
Well, and to be fair, like every movie you have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit. But I think it's the combination that this is going on while Wonder's women going around and saving brides from falling off balconies, and so you're already like, what the heck? Are just like kicking cars to save joggers
From the
and shit,
girls, from
and
the
then
okay. So kick the guys in the car. I'm making a point here. Eventually,
yeah, no, you're
kicks the
good.
guys that were racing in the car across. Now, by the way, guys they're fast. They put the foot to the metal. Okay, whatever. Kicks their car out of the way. Saves a woman. Fabulous. Then you see some girls stealing from a store. Now it's petty theft, but they're still stealing. And then they run and they knock into this bridegroom, and the bride goes falling off this freaking half little whatever. What is it? A bridge or something? Like, not even a bridge, but it's uprise a little bit. And she's about to totally faceplant, and she saves her just at that right moment. But yet she doesn't stop the girls from stealing. I'm just kind of like, Okay. And then the guys, the robbers who were in the store, not one female, all dudes, and terrible dudes at that. And I mean dudes acting. Like you said, Adam, the spiky haired blonde dude, okay, I mean rough. And but you know what annoyed me the most, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, was the dude who's finally he's cornered, he's up against the railing, he's like, I'm gonna take this kid and I'm gonna dangle it over this edge. And I'm just kind of like, and then I get to watch his asshole friends. They're like, whoa, man, whoa, we didn't say do that. I mean, we gonna steal, but we ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, the whole thing's really weird.
Oh
Like
God, I'm getting sick to my stomach just
it,
thinking about it.
it's like yeah, that that beginning sequence is just painful to watch, honestly. Like it just like, and it's not even just that the sequences don't make sense, but I almost wonder if the actors when they're doing it, it's like I don't know what face to wear while this is
What?
going on. I don't know. I don't know
What do I do?
how do you what is the face you wear when you panic and decide to dang a girl over an edge because you're stealing something from a store in the mall? What's the face
I mean,
for
and if
that?
they were gonna do it, like you can get dark. I mean, think about the Dark Knight. When
Yeah.
freaking what's his face was holding the kid, near the edge or the gun, whatever. That's serious tense. I think the problem was they went like whimsical kind of 80s with this a little bit.
Yeah.
And just because you do 80s, I mean, there was dark 80s movies. I mean,
I mean, the first Tim Burton Batman was an '80s movie
there you go.
technically.
There you go. And so why do they start off so kind of goofified or whatever with everything in the 80s, but just to end in a more serious note? I mean, see, and that's when they're breaking the movie style. And is it that, well, we can say that our movie has comedy, action, thriller, suspense. I'm like,
I don't know
I'm,
what
I'm
they're
like,
doing.
congratulations on confusing the literal, what out of me. I'm just like, and
I don't know what
I
they're
mean,
doing.
like, I was confused when I was watching Tenet, but I was like engaged, confused. Like, I'm like, I want
Right.
to know more. This one, I was just kind of like, well, it's going to end sooner or later.
Right. I mean, I think I watched it earlier today, and I told you I'm like I took a break about an hour in to eat some dinner.
See,
I think I
at least
needed
you
it.
got the what do they call that? When they cut the movie and they're like, everybody chill for a minute and just get your
Yeah,
bearings.
I got my 5 minute break. I got to use the restroom and eat a sandwich. It was
Yeah,
nice.
so when you came back, you're like, all right, let's finish this movie. And then it probably got exciting a little bit because in the back half it
Yeah,
does.
I got in the second half, which was definitely, if there was a saving grace in the movie, it was the second half. And didn't it had its flaws, like it wasn't perfect, but it at least had enough feel like moments that felt like that Wonder Woman that you fell in love with in the first
Right.
one that I could
Yeah,
stomach
and
it.
she was kind of being a jerk to a lot of people in this one too, which I understood certain moments, like the dudes, which we're gonna get to that one. That's well, and hell, that's actually the next one. Here we go, number 6.
Do
All
it.
of the catcalling and male gawking throughout this movie. Now listen, I know
Yeah.
you just saw it for the first time. Now listen, I was just paying such close attention to this because I could tell there was a clear point that this director or slash story writers were trying to get across here, and that dudes are pretty much dogs and relevantly mostly evil. They had a couple scenes in there where like the guy hails the cab and he's like, "Hey, you sure you don't want to share?" And she's like, "No, it's okay." Hey, nice guy. Well, there was one.
Yeah.
Watch the scenes again sometime if you guys are ever coming across when she enters the room, and even when Kristen Wiig, when her or Barbara finally kind of gets her little prowess going on before she goes full cat, like literally. Look at every single dude and everybody in the room. There is not one dude who does not turn his head. Tell me a time, any of you, where you've been in any kind of party situation where one woman walked in the room and literally it was just like where everybody turns.
I'm sure it's happened, but yeah, I'm
No,
like the
no.
fact that it happens every time this particular woman enters the room, and I didn't notice it. So like I'm sitting there thinking, an attractive woman getting approached or hit on by 2 or 3 guys in a party probably isn't over the top, might even be normal. But yeah, for everyone in the room to stop what they're doing and look at the same time, is
So
a little
here's the thing.
far-fetched. Every
So
single
let me bring it
time.
to this way. We all know that Gal Gadot, she's a very attractive woman, right?
Yeah.
And even Kristen Wiig once lost the glasses and the ponytail and the pigtails. It's almost like freaking not another teen movie. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but like not
Yeah,
not
she's
not
all
not
that what's
Janie
based off
Briggs.
of.
She's
Yep.
got the glasses and the ponytail. What is that? No. Okay, once
Right.
you get past all that junk, whatever, and she got into her just normal kind of 80s clothing and hair done up, makeup. She's a beautiful woman too. That's all fine
Yeah.
and well and good. How much do you have to show? I mean, how many different scenes, approaches do you have
Right.
to do? We get it. The woman
Yeah.
is stunning. Okay, I don't.
Yeah. Give us one time.
Anyways, on a little side fact, a little fun trivia. Gal Gadot, I found out she made around $300,000 when she did the first Wonder Woman. She made
Wow.
$10 million for this film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she got that salary from the first movie,
Yep.
which I've yet to talk to anybody who hasn't liked it. So, I mean, that's how it works,
Yep.
right? It's a shame that she got paid, that she didn't get paid for the better product, and she got paid for the worst
Right.
one. But she's making that 10
Yeah.
million because Wonder Woman was
And I
that
think they
good.
already greenlit a number three, or at least they're in major talks on it. Let's just put it that way. I don't know about greenlit, but I mean the movie's probably going to make some money. But I hear, of course, it's not doing very well between HBO Max and then the limited theaters that are open showing it. It's not looking good for them. They're not pulling in the money, especially overseas. I even heard over in China. China released another movie the same time this one, and the Chinese movie actually hit over this one, which is I hear very odd for overseas films, especially superhero ones. So that was interesting too. And then okay, so number 7. Okay, and this one it can go either way, but this one was like just really gnawing at me like throughout the movie. I just couldn't help but think about this, and the fact that when she wished for Steve to come back to Inconsistencies. Not only did the special lamp slash dildo device slash wishmaker thing not give him back in just true form and say, here he is, have fun. They took over a human soul person, real person in this movie. And like he took over his entire life pretty much, except it has Steve's consciousness. So, and ultimately you kind of killed someone to bring back your I mean that's and she never once addresses this during the entire movie. I mean at the very end you get the chance for her to see the guy at total random chance again. I gotta love movies, just how they throw it all together. But whatever. But he's there, and then she's kind of talking, which is so funny because she's probably looking over him, kind of like, "Yeah, we had sex a lot in your place, and you don't and you don't know me." But I mean, every time she's
It's hard to
I,
say, but it
well,
certainly
she
could
just
be.
kept smiling at him and stuff like that, and he's all just kind of talking about the. I mean, they made him out, and of course for the movie's sake, they made him out to seem like a pretty decent dude. He's kind of like, "Oh, you like my clothes?"
Yeah.
Honestly, the dude looked like a total douche in my opinion. I bet you he was a total jerk, probably to women and everything else. He just seemed like one of those guys, but. Whatever, they decided to make him good and let off on a happy note. But I'm just kind of like they never hit on this, Adam, and I just feel these are just things that it's kind of like moral dilemmas throughout the movie, but it could have added to some of the tension also of understanding why Steve is feeling the way he's feeling, why Diana's feeling the way she's feeling. It's just the little things, it's details.
Yeah, and honestly, like I will say this at the beginning of the movie, Diana seems pretty cold, especially
Yes.
especially versus what she was in the first movie. Outside of her, random heroic
Right.
actions, she's not super approachable. She's kind of reclusive. So I mean, it's not super far fetched to think that her love interest shows up, and even though it's in another person's body, that she's like, eh. But even still, it's like there is that question: is that what the hero's supposed to be doing? And you're right, because because of all the talks that go around why Steve needs to go
Right.
again, it's never because I'm in somebody else's body and he deserves to live too.
Yeah.
It's never
I
because
mean,
of
Steve
that.
could also mention that at one point too, like we've done something that's not right. This is but
Yeah.
and I guess they're thinking, well, that's going to take away from their love story, whatever. But I'm just like, but yeah, but it's still there, and it's in a lot of our minds. Maybe not everybody's, but even if it was 3 out of 10, or and which I'm sure is at least that 30% of people, I'm sure 30% of the people might have thought that. Anyways, this movie just
Yeah.
back and forth, inconsistencies, half baked story, wasted character time. Ouch. you know.
Yeah.
And Adam, we talked about this on ZMAM. We're not here to be, well, at least the idea was we try to keep it real. We're not trying to be overly cynical
Yeah.
and just be like, oh, la, la, la. But I mean, the movie literally just it does it to itself.
Yeah. And there are moments to me, and time to add to what you're saying, there are moments in the second half that pulled me in. So
Agreed.
it's not that
Agreed.
the movie has moments that are good, if not
Yeah.
great. But the problem is it's a complete body of work, and it's drugged down by all the moments that are either dull or just don't belong, or seem out of
Right.
sequence or out of character, that by the time you get to those good movements, it's like I felt like the first half of the movie is what am I watching, and then we get to the second half and it's like uh like you're on a roller
Yep.
coaster where you can't decide whether it's good or
Yeah.
bad. So it's not that every moment is unbearable. It's just that the good moments just aren't enough to pull it out of
Yeah.
the gutter.
It never got pulled out, and especially even by the ending, which they make try to do this hey, Adam, let's do the super happy ending. Totally, dude. Diddly, diddly, diddly. I mean, it's a total Wayne's World moment. We're like,
Yeah.
let's do the Scooby Doo ending. Okay,
Yeah.
Shaggy. I mean, that's what I felt like. It's just like, and no
Yeah.
repercussions for Max and what he did. It's like everyone's just kind of like, yeah, it's cool. We launched some nukes. They
Yeah.
exploded. Nobody died. I mean, not really. I mean, are you telling me that
Nobody important.
right, nobody important. You tell me that the diner lady that she lived after having the heart attack after her ex basically told her to drop dead. And did everybody make it? Because I sort of show. I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, no, I really doubt it. But hell, why not? I mean, it was one thing when Superman was crashing through building after building in Metropolis, and Batman's watching, kind of like, you son of a, and there's got to be hundreds and thousands of people, or excuse me, could be up to thousands of people dying throughout the city as he's battling. Well, what was his face in Man of Steel? Who was he battling? Azad, right? And
Yeah.
and that it kind of crossed my mind because literally I was like, man, y'all are decking these buildings. The city is completely jacked.
Well, they kind of show it though. At least in Man of Steel,
This
they
is true.
show it. They show people who are in Metropolis and are trying to survive while all this
This is
stuff's
true.
going on. But yeah, you're right. And Wonder Woman 84, they pay no homage to it. They're just like everything's fine, nothing's ruined.
It was weak sauce. Weak sauce scores. Those are the seven things that I will admit that I kind of picked out most of these. So Adam, I kind of drug you along on this journey a little bit, but I know you
Sure.
feel a good portion of this because I could tell in some of your comments as well when we were talking earlier that you are definitely on board with a lot of this. I mean, it has many flaws, many.
I think you and I agree on what the flaws are, and where we disagree is the severity of the flaw. Like some things that were really bad to you were just annoying to me. I mean, ultimately, I don't know if I'm even it's definitely not a good movie. It's somewhere between bad and
Bad and average,
average.
yeah.
And I'll let people decide where on that scale it is. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but whew, I wouldn't call it
No, I
good.
think if I just gave it a score, I just give it right. Mm. My initial thought is five, but really, I almost think it almost doesn't deserve just the five. I think I give it like a 4.5, like just under average. Like it's bare because I've talked about this before. I believe a five is a watchable movie. I mean, I would watch it, but it doesn't mean you're gonna love it. So I guess I give it a five. I
It's
give it a
fair.
five. I mean, watch it once
Well,
and then let it die forever.
and I tend to be more lenient than you, and I'm not gonna change my approach. I'm gonna actually you might jaw drop at this one. I'm gonna give it a 5.5
Oh,
just
that's not a
because
jaw dropper.
I think the good moments in the movie are really good. I think we haven't hit on that much. There are moments in
Yeah.
the movie that really shine, but it is probably a grand total of a half an hour of
Hmm.
shine, and the other 2 hours they either add nothing to the high moments or they pull it down. And it's that 5.5. You're not going to get me to go higher than that. I feel like that's a generous
Yeah.
rating. IMDb 6.3 is really generous. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is talking about with that fresh rating
Mm-mm.
right now. You better drop back into Rotten.
Don't ever
Like, if you
trust
don't
Rotten
get it.
Tomatoes. There's it's so jacked. I mean, it's rigged
Yeah.
so badly. But if you
Yep.
did want to come out and you're like, well, then why would I even go out and watch this? I'd say because a couple of the characters, I think their scenes pay off pretty well when they finally either turn bad or good or this or that. Cheetah's an interesting character. It was different. I wouldn't call her a great villain, but she caused enough havoc to really get in the way of things. I thought the action scenes were great when they were there, and I thought this cinematography was pretty decent. But that's kind of where I would leave it.
Well, and to add my quick 2 cents, I mean, the one thing I will say is by the end of the movie, Diana's back. You got the Wonder Woman you fell in love with in the first movie. So here's hoping that they keep her around. They don't do this crazy stuff in movie number 3, and we get a Wonder Woman 3, because 2's a little bit of a
It was a
lull.
low. So thanks for coming out and checking out this review for Wonder Woman. We wish it could have been better. This has been an interesting 2020, and by interesting I mean a real crap mess. But hey, it is what it is. There'll be many more films coming our way. We have things to watch and reviews to do. So with that said, make sure to come out on Wednesdays and check Adam and I out as we do new content. Walking Dead will be back here, I think, in February 2021. So come out and see my reviews on that. And other than that, we'll catch you guys probably at the next review.
Yeah, leave us some comments. You don't have to agree with us. We'll see you all
There
next
you go.
time.